YouTube. So I'm gonna do a quick recap, final thoughts on this past Saturday's Miguel Cotto versus Austin Trout fight that took place in Madison Square Garden, New York City. We are given yet another upset in 2012, man. Austin Trout, in my opinion, outboxed Miguel Cotto. I scored the fight 116-112. A couple of the rounds, you maybe could have given it 10-10. I mean, it depends how you judge swing rounds. You know, some people favor the champion, which Austin Trout was in this fight. And the fight was in Madison Square Garden. You know, you're thinking going into the fight, you know, Austin Trout's got a lot to overcome because Miguel Cotto, as said by many that have fought him in Madison Square Garden, is one of the toughest fights that you will have. You know, putting together Cotto himself with the crowd, the atmosphere. Some people get a little shook, but Austin Trout came in, pumped the jab all night on Cotto, and stuck to his game plan. And the middle rounds, Cotto was effective with the body work on Austin Trout. The one thing I did notice in this fight, and it was somewhat of a trend that I noticed from Miguel Cotto at junior middleweight. For starters, I like to say that Austin Trout is the first legitimate junior middleweight I believe Cotto has fought. Now, he did fight Yuri Foreman, and he did fight Ricardo Mayorga, but Mayorga was obviously way past it, and Foreman, you know, for lack of better words, is kind of soft. You know, I mean, I'm not a fighter myself, but I mean, if I'm going to play the comparison game to the other guys at 154, he is soft in comparison. So Austin Trout, man, and going into the fight, I didn't make a prediction video for this, and you know, as you can see, man, like I'm half Puerto Rican. I've been a Cotto fan for, you know, since his days in ESPN when he was like 8-0. Going into the fight, man, Austin Trout wasn't a name, but based on his physical advantages and what he could do in the ring, it worried me. You know, I mean, being a fan of Cotto, you know, or if you are a fan of Cotto, I believe what a lot of people thought going into the fight was Cotto was going to go in there and just really outclass Austin Trout, not really seeing what Austin Trout has to offer. And if you look at the issues that Miguel Cotto has had throughout his career, these are things that Austin Trout can bring in a fight. And meaning, the jab, which he was getting pumped with all night. And Floyd Mayweather was able to do that to Miguel Cotto. Another thing that he was doing as well is he was landing that uppercut, which is like Miguel Cotto's kryptonite through his entire career. I mean, he's been hit with uppercuts clean. And every fight I've seen him in, as far as since he's hit the ranks of the elites, but he was getting hit with clean uppercuts, straight left hands, and even after those middle rounds where Cotto seemed to be taking control, when Austin Trout, you know, took control again, rounds 8 or 9, he was almost like, well, at some point he actually was pushing Cotto back, and from that point, Cotto can't fight on his back foot. He really never could. You know, Miguel Cotto is what most or some fans have described as a throwback fighter, meaning that, and the proof is in his resume. Shane Mosley, Zab Judah, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Antonio Margarito, you know, Joshua Clottey, the best fighters of his time. And the thing about Miguel Cotto in comparison to a Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, because I think those are the 3 stars that boxing has had in this generation as far as people who could draw, you know, and Cotto's obviously a distant third. But the thing about Miguel Cotto is he was never a guy in a sense that, yeah, he did take little warm-up fights here and there, but for the most part, he took fights that a Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao wouldn't take for the sake of them not being a big enough fight or, you know, just, I mean, for lack of better words, cherry picking. You know what I mean? I mean, just putting yourself in the best possible scenarios for you to win. Miguel Cotto, I mean, look at his track record. I mean, he's fought guys that, you know, most people would think, like, you know, why would you fight this guy? Austin Trout's a prime example of that. I mean, if you look at everything on paper, it's just, you know, it's a style matchup and it's a size differential that would be a cause for trouble for Miguel Cotto, but he takes the fight anyway. So I give him respect for that. I mean, I think that's one thing we'll always remember about Miguel Cotto. Now, what does this do for a potential Canelo matchup? Well, Richard Schaefer's talking about that this fight still may happen. I don't find the interest, to be honest with you, in a Cotto-Canelo match, because I'll tell you right now, I think Canelo knocks Cotto out. We've seen Cotto's face in this fight. He looked more beat up in this fight than he did against Mayweather. And he marks up easy. And Canelo, man, look, he may get hit in the fight, but he's going to hit Cotto. He's faster than Cotto at this point. He's got power in both hands. And I mean, he's just a bigger guy than Cotto, man. Honestly, would hate to see Cotto take that fight, man, because I think he takes a beating in that fight. But he's talking about he's still going to fight, or he says he's going to think about it, but something tells me Cotto's not done yet. So it's tough to really say where he's going to go. And if the Canelo fight doesn't happen, man, it's just, I feel bad for Canelo, man, because he's missed out on fights with Paul Williams, unfortunately, Victor Ortiz, and it now could potentially be a miss out on a Miguel Cotto fight, which could have been his biggest payday. Because I don't think Golden Boy's rushing in to put him in there with Mayweather. I don't really think so. I mean, I think some people are talking about that Miguel Cotto now looks even better against Floyd Mayweather, being that he gave Mayweather all he could handle. Because, you know, we're obviously not going to see an Austin Trout Floyd Mayweather fight. But it kind of, some people, I guess, are setting up a measuring stick as to really how good Floyd is right now. And what if he did fight a younger, stronger, legitimate 154-pounder? I mean, would, you know, Floyd get hurt in that fight? I mean, that's something that obviously, you know, we have yet to see. So it's gonna be tough to really see where Canelo's gonna go. Like I said, I really don't want to see a Cotto fight, because I think it lost its luster. I mean, it really did. You know, I mean, this whole scenario was to set up a matchup between Canelo and Cotto, but it doesn't make sense anymore. So I think, to be quite honest with you, I think Cotto should retire. For the simple fact that he's really got nothing to prove. I think it's just he would maybe want to just retire on a good note. But like, at the cost of what? Getting your brains beaten? Because, I mean, Cotto gets hit a lot, man. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And I'd hate to see him really go against what he said early on in his career, that he didn't want to, he's going to retire at the right time and he's not going to, you know, put himself in danger. Or, you know, but I think it's like 2 losses in a row. You know, the 154-pound division really doesn't seem to be the division for Miguel Cotto when you look at guys like Erislandy Lara and Canelo Alvarez, and he already fought Austin Trout. I mean, they're saying he could maybe fight Bunridge, but like, what's that gonna do? You know, like, it's pointless. You know, he would just be doing it for his ego. So we'll see what happens from here, man. But props to Austin Trout. I mean, I think the unfortunate side of things, I think people are going to duck him because he's not a marketable fighter and he's just a tough fight. You know, just like what Winky Wright was at one point. People didn't want to fight him because he was just a tough fucking guy to fight. But we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think Cotto should do. Should he retire? Who should Canelo fight now? You know, what would you think of a Canelo-Austin Trout fight? They're saying that may not happen either, but, you know, that makes obvious sense. So let me know what you think, and I'll be back soon, man. Peace.